book is Responsive Teaching, Cognitive Science and Formative Assessment in Practice. And it's kind of a guide to solving a couple of the big problems that teachers face. One of which is, how am I going to teach this thing, whatever it is, my vast subject, in a way that's clear, engaging, comprehensible for students? And the other one is, once I've taught them some stuff, what have they got out of it? What have they understood? How can I help individual students improve when each student has their own individual needs? Big question. I've boiled it down into 6 principles. So I hope they will take those 6 principles away and use them. With that, each principle, there are lots of different examples of how the principle works or can work in the classroom. So I hope they might take some of those examples, but also the whole point of emphasising the principle is there are many different ways in which it can be applied, and it will look different depending on where you are, how old your students are, what your subject is. So I hope that teachers will take away the principles, but they'll also take away some individual examples. And also there's just some sort of ideas, guidance, advice, and like, what should I do if I'm a newly qualified teacher? What should I do if I'm a mentor and I'm trying to make teaching more responsive in my school? So hopefully there'll be something individual there that teachers can find that fits their needs. What I've tried to do is strike a balance between the evidence and practice, and the reason for doing that is there's some really good evidence out there, but it's often not very accessible to teachers. So it's locked up in journal articles. You have to read quite a lot of them to get a sense of the literature, and even once you have done, you often don't have a clear sort of next step of what you should do as a result. Conversely, there's lots of teachers writing in really interesting ways about what they're doing in their classroom, but often these are the same teachers who haven't necessarily had time to link it to the evidence. So I've tried to pull the literature, the evidence and practical examples together in one place. One key takeaway, both for me and that I'd suggest for teachers, is the importance of using models. So if you want students to write a good history essay or solve a maths problem accurately and well, sharing with students not just one model but multiple models and giving them time and the chance to really understand that model and what it's showing, I think could be really helpful. Another takeaway for me is really rethinking how we do feedback, so getting away from marking and looking at all the different ways that we can help students improve, many of which need not be really onerous and time consuming. So there are ways of getting students to help themselves, help each other, that can help them create high quality work, but won't keep teachers marking till midnight. It's hard to picture in a lot of ways, but what I hope they'll do is they'll go through, they'll get a sense of the evidence, and that might lead them to decide they're curious and pursue those leads and the further reading I've suggested more. But they might also say, okay, that's good enough, that's a summary for me. Look at the examples and then go back to their classroom and be like, okay, what does this look like for me? How can I take this principle and apply it in a way that feels right and is going to help my students? And so there's a checklist at the end of each chapter to say, okay, if you want to work on the principle of tracking student understanding in the moment, in the lesson, here are some steps that you might want to move through. One of the ones that surprised me most, I've mentioned already that this idea of models. Models are really important. I always thought that teachers' explanation of the model was really important, but I found some really quite compelling evidence that the explanation doesn't add very much. It's the process of students seeing the models and thinking them through, and maybe the teacher doesn't even need to see anything. And I was like, that was not something I was expecting at all.